Hi, welcome to Celebrating Culture. We're here in New Orleans. We're at the Saengar Theater and with Lena Prima. Lena, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Charles.
You know, it's so great to be here with you because your great-grandfather and my great-grandmother both came from Sala Peruta, Italy, or Sicily, as we like to say. And they ended up here in that great migration from 1890 to 1920.
Yeah.
And then your dad is born in 1910.
Right.
That jazz, swing, sound comes out of here, and this is where he gets started.
This is where he got started. And he was playing the trumpet at that time, and he was on Bourbon Street where the jazz clubs were at that time. And he wanted to be a jazz man. But there was an orchestra here at the Saengar Theater, and the leader of the orchestra, his name was Lou Forbes, discovered my dad and wanted to hire him. They were going to start these new variety shows with costumes and dancers and scene changes, set changes, and they wanted him to be the leader of those shows.
Well, your dad was such,
yeah.
I mean, he was such a leader in the theatrics. He brought such a level.
He had so much charisma, and I guess Lou saw that in him and figured that would work for what they were doing here at the Saengar.
Your grandmother sang.
She did.
So like it's hereditary.
It is, absolutely.
And now you sing.
Absolutely.
You know, so your grandmother comes over, she's singing, your dad grows up into it, and then he has a great career.
Yeah.
But it's hard getting going. I mean, he struggled.
You know, I think that first of all, growing up in New Orleans, where playing music was pretty much a requirement. I mean, everybody played music. He said himself that when a child met another child for the first time, they would say, "Hello, what do you play?" That was their first words to each other. So he grew up chasing following the trucks where the bands were playing to advertise dances. Seeing Louis Armstrong and Leon Rapolo, Kid Ory, he loved all those musicians, and so he grew up with that influence. As his family, they used to sit in their car outside the churches, the gospel, and listen to the singing, and sit outside the clubs and listen to the music coming out. And so he grew up listening to all the great music and culture that was happening in New Orleans
and
at
the
that
Sicilian
time.
and the African American communities were living side by side,
as well as Germans and other Irish and other cultures. It was a melting pot.
But literally, your dad's house was close to Congo Square.
Yeah, absolutely.
So that's what I mean. Like he was there on Sundays.
Absolutely.
He was right where the Congo
was. Yes, he was.
Yeah,
he was influenced by all that, and of course developed his own style along with the Italian influence. You know, people actually call his music Italian swing or Italian jazz. Yeah.
And so he gets going here, and then he leaves for New York.
Yeah, he went from here to New York to try to become famous, because that's what everyone did. That New York was the place to go. So he went. His mother wanted him to come back because she thought he was too young to go to New York. So he did come back, but he ended up going there and becoming, of course, the Famous Door was the club where he became famous first.
Is there a street there named Swing Street?
Well, it is. It was 52nd Street, but they named it Swing Street because of the trend that my dad started, because he's
called the king of swing.
Yeah. Well, that's what we like to call him.
No, he leaves there.
Yeah.
I think he goes to Chicago for a while, and then to Sahara.
Yeah. Well, he went to Hollywood before he went to Vegas, and he was in some movies with Bing Crosby, Martha Raye, Lucille Ball's first appearance on film. My dad was in that movie with her. So he filmed and became friends with Walt Disney, Clark Gable, all those Hollywood stars. And then he had an engagement in Vegas, and he was actually going to follow Cab Calloway into the Sahara for a 2-week engagement in the lounge. And Cab called him and said, "Louis, don't come here. It's dead. It's bad. You're not going to like it. Don't come here." But all the stars followed my dad to Vegas from Hollywood. And he ended up...
And looking at the photographs, and you're right, there's a great story you told me about Sing, Sing, Sing.
Yeah.
How did that get started?
Well, his friend and tailor told me that he got the inspiration for the song watching the horses race at Santa Anita. And he named the song Sing, Bing, Sing at first because he loved Bing Crosby. That was his favorite singer. He wanted to sing like Bing. But that the inspiration was really the horses racing around the track, and you can really... When you hear that song, the drums and the urgency and all, it does. It sounds like a horse race to me.
Yes,
the background music for an exciting horse race.
So then he leaves, really, the Vegas is just getting going, so it's dead. And the movies we've seen, or the history, shows that they struggled. And your dad is one of the first people to go there.
Yes, in fact, they credited him with Vegas becoming the entertainment capital of the world because of what he started. He ended up The 2-week engagement ended up lasting 9 years. Wow. And he had, of course, Keely Smith,
Yes.
who was his fourth wife,
Yeah.
and Sam Butera, who was also from New Orleans, and other New Orleans musicians in his band. Lou Sino, for example, he was another New Orleans guy. But he brought the New Orleans sound and style and the party and the fun and that music to Las Vegas.
Wherever you go in the world, you bring that New Orleans flair, and people gravitate to it. I know when I was in California, people like all the parties. I would say it's called, we're having a Cajun party. People come, they want to know more about New Orleans.
And people don't realize, a lot of people don't realize it's New Orleans music that he was playing, that style, the beat, like his shuffle, fast shuffle beat. Think about Go to the Mardi Gras. The original Go to the Mardi Gras, that shuffle, that old shuffle sound, that came from here. Even the Latin, Old Black Magic, his version of Old Black Magic, that beat came from here. So he took that style, made it his own, and brought it all around the country.
Wow. And he did a lot of Italian, because when you have an Italian wedding, you typically have Louis Prima songs.
And that's what happened in New York in the big band era in the 40s. Italian Americans are so proud of my dad, still to this day. He, at that time, it was not really cool to be Italian because of what happened with Hitler and Mussolini.
Sure.
But he never changed his name, and he always recorded Italian songs, words about Italian lifestyle. He really stuck to his heritage, and that started a trend with Italian fashions and food and in New York.
You, though, came back to New Orleans.
Well, I always felt a connection with New Orleans. I did grow up here as a kid, too, as well as Las Vegas, where I was born, but I felt a strong connection to New Orleans always, and I wanted to come back for a long time, so I'm so happy to be
It's like
back.
the community needed a spark, and you're the spark.
Thanks. I don't know about that, but they sparked me, that's for
sure.
sure.
You've been queen twice this year, and it's only May.
I got to be queen for a day.
Italian
queen
Jazz
for
Fest,
a day, yeah.
And the Italian parade.
Yes.
So how was it in the parade?
Wonderful. The Italian tradition is so strong here, and that it makes me so happy, like you. The old, like the St. Joseph's tables and the traditions, the doing the tarantella and the celebrating St. Joseph's Day is amazing. When I first experienced it, my dad used to take me around to all the neighborhoods, and back in those days, everybody had their front door open, and you just went from house to house to house, saw everybody's table, put a little money in the jar, and took a fava bean, and ate a little treat, and went to the next, said hello,
It is such a culture, that era that they brought over from Sicily.
Yes.
I'm still learning it. I mean, I didn't know much about they put the breadcrumbs on the pasta to be the sawdust.
Yes.
And there's all these little intricacies of how to do a St. Joseph altar.
And they hold it dearly and make sure they do it every year, and that's amazing. I love it.
So you've been playing, though. I mean, you're in Kenner at the Italian event there.
Yes.
You're at the Montleon.
Yes.
You played twice at Jazz Fest.
I did.
Same day.
Yes.
You got jewelry?
I do. I have a jewelry line. It's lenaprimajewelry.com, and then my website that has my music schedule is lenaprima.com.
Well, thank you for being on the show.
Anytime, Charles. I could talk about Italian heritage all day.
We'll be right back with more of Celebrating Culture.